So I'm from New Zealand, but right now I'm in Guatemala.
Guatemala. Where is it? I never heard this name.
Yeah, Guatemala is a small country just below Mexico
Okay, okay.
in Central America. I did many different jobs. I was a professional rugby player.
Oh,
I was a butcher. I was a builder. I was a forklift operator. I have done lots of jobs and I
oh
didn't
my
really
God.
like them. So I tried something new and now I really like teaching English. It's really fun for me.
Yeah, so I heard that New Zealand is a very beautiful country. So
Mhm.
is it? What do you think about this? Because
Yes, I think it is a beautiful country. It's a pretty small country. It has two islands, but a lot of the land is mountains or like really deep valleys. So you can't live everywhere in New Zealand. But this, for me, is why it's beautiful. I mean, we have really clean beaches, really amazing mountain ranges with lots of rivers and lakes. It has a lot of nature.
yeah, because I heard that most of the people they live in North Island. There's another the
Yes,
smaller
that's
island.
Yeah, that's correct. They live in the North Island. I am from the South Island. Uh,
Okay.
in the South Island, there are less people and more nature. The North
Oh,
Island, exactly, more people. It's in Auckland City, which is the biggest city at the top. There are like 2 million people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but the whole country is only 5 million. So it's a large percentage of the people live in one spot.
actually, I think small countries are very organized, and
Hmm.
so many things are managed in a very good manner. So
Hmm.
you see a very ease of life, I would say, because I see
Yeah,
same thing in Singapore also.
yeah. Singapore is an amazing country. Very strict though.
Yeah, it's very
I
strict.
have been to Singapore. There are some crazy rules.
Yeah, that's true. Crazy rules, but I think those are for your good.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing that a whole country has this idea of following these strict rules, but then there are hardly any crime or hardly any problems.
True, true. Yes.
Yeah.
And why rugby is so famous in New Zealand?
Well, to be honest, I don't know if there's a reason, but it truly is like football. No. Um, we always say that people who play football in New Zealand play football because they can't play rugby. Like rugby is the only thing that matters. Every kid in New Zealand wants to grow up to be like we look at the rugby players like people look to Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. It's like the same, but for us, I mean, and as to why, maybe it's because we are a British colony
Hmm.
because rugby was invented in England,
Yes.
and I think it's because we are a British colony, but also some of the best rugby countries in the world are the Pacific Islands, like Samoa, Tonga, and Fiji. And we have a lot of immigrants from these Pacific Islands in New Zealand. So it's a great mix of people to make a good rugby team.
But I actually never played rugby, and
Yeah.
for me, it's kind of very aggressive kind of game.
Mhm. Well, it is exactly. It's very aggressive. It's very dangerous. I played for 14 years,
Oh
but I
my
had
God.
to stop. I broke a finger. I tore my pectoral muscle. I am 25 years old, but I have bad knees. It's like I had to stop playing. Most people in New Zealand play rugby in the winter and play cricket in the summer.
One of the things that I got surprised about, New Zealand has a lot of sheeps, I think.
Correct. So there are 5 million people, but there are over 10 million sheep, over twice as many sheep as people. It's because farming and agriculture is one of the biggest industries in New Zealand,
Hmm.
and they have done this for a long time. New Zealand produces some of the best lamb, like for meat, but also some of the best wool for clothing.
Hmm.
There are specific breeds of sheep that you can only find in New Zealand, and they make a wool called merino, and it's
Oh.
very expensive. It's in people buy this in like really expensive markets in America and England and China. Um, and it's always advertised as New Zealand's sheep wool. It sounds exotic, but when you drive between cities and through small towns, all you see is sheep everywhere. Sheep farms, sometimes they are crossing the road, so you have to be careful.
So it's like only people from who has farms, they only have sheep, or it's like
No. Yeah, we don't have them
everyone.
as pets. No, you're right. Only on farms. I mean, maybe on a rare occasion, someone will have a baby sheep as a pet, but that's very rare. There are just a large amount of sheep farms.
I also heard this one, like New Zealand had a lot of people own a lot of car there. Means almost everyone have car.
Yes, well, it is a small country, but it's still spread out. Like you can't just walk to work, especially where I'm from in Christchurch City. Is very flat, and we do have public buses. We don't have public trains or like a subway, like in London or in America. It is important to have a car. I actually, in New Zealand, I have two cars, but they are very old. They are not good, expensive cars. My car is made in 1989, very old.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's very old. Now it's kind of a antique car.
Yeah, maybe in the future I can sell it for some money.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
because in Singapore, yeah, here people also have a lot of cars. Actually, so many kind of expensive cars,
Hmm.
and but mostly people travel in MRTs, subways.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
because Singapore really has a very good transport.
Yeah. I think if cities in New Zealand had better public transport, then we wouldn't need to have cars as much.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's also used for hobbies. I mean, as I said, there are a lot of rivers and lakes. There are lots of places to drive your car, like off road, like big trucks. So this is like a big hobby for people in New Zealand to drive on the beach, to drive up rivers, like
So
through the water. I think the best thing about New Zealand is it's one of the newest countries, like the newly founded countries. So when New Zealand started um, to thrive in these industries and become a more populated country, we had the benefit of seeing like what America and seeing what England and the UK, what mistakes they made in the past. So when New Zealand was a new country, we like, okay, we know not to do these things. Let's just focus on what we know is good. And the other thing is, I love that New Zealand doesn't have a lot of people. For example, the land size of New Zealand is the same as the land size of England, just a different shape.
yeah,
But England has 34 million people, and New Zealand only has 5 million for the same size. So there's a lot more, obviously, nature and stuff.
yes, true.
But what I miss is you can go to the beach and you will be the only person at the beach. You can bring a tent, you can bring a barbecue. No one's going to call the police. You just clean up after yourself. It's like a very trustworthy country.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
And New Zealand, I think it's one of the country where people are immigrating to New Zealand. Is it true that because I
People
heard people,
immigrating there?
yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's very true. I mean, it's very multicultural. When I was growing up at my school, one of my best friends was Indian, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his name was Adrian, and he was from Fiji, but his family was Indian. I had a friend from Korea, lots of people from Asian countries specifically, but also like Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia, um, even countries like Lebanon. Lots of multicultural immigration in New Zealand. There are just as many mosques as there are churches. It's very accepting of other cultures. I think this is a really good thing for New Zealand.